Good morning, moguls. Happy MLK Day. I know you guys see me repping Martin Luther King. I am honored to be honoring him today. And I feel so blessed that my show is on a Monday because I get to honor him today. So today we have a dynamic co-host, because my guest are co-host, and she's also a friend of mine. I actually met her over 20 years ago when I interned for Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, and she was chief of staff then, and she was so welcoming but also knowledgeable, and was willing to share knowledge and kind of guide me through the process. So further ado, I want to introduce America's 5-minute advocate, Chonya Johnson.
Hi, how are you?
Hey.
One point of personal privilege is that I wasn't the chief, I was a district director.
Yeah, the district
But I
director.
appreciate you giving me that raise and that vote of confidence.
Because
But
you know that's
yes,
what I
I'm
always say you were.
Chonya Johnson, America's 5-minute advocate. So super, thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. Share with the moguls a little bit about what you do, what you've done throughout the years, so they have some background.
So I am an author of several different books centered around leadership development, advocacy, women running for office, and some other things. But what I currently do now is I am a lobbyist for Bread for the World, where I advocate to end hunger and poverty here in the U.S. and abroad. Um, in addition to that, I serve as a government relation consultant to many different organizations, assisting them in finding ways to navigate the terrains of government, how they can get in, get out, and get results when they're looking for their little piece of the pie. And that could be in any industry area. They're looking to do work with the federal government, and it could be Homeland Security to housing to health and human services. Those are some of the areas in which I serve as a government relations consultant.
So you're also consulting with, say, I'm a minority company and I'm trying to just get in, get my
Yes,
foot in the door. You're also
yes,
available for that.
absolutely. When I was in Jackson Lee office, which I just talked to this one, wasn't a client then, but I did assist small businesses who were looking to do business, enter a mental protege program, and or who were trying to get 8A certification. So I have those skills in helping people understand how to put together those packets so that they can do business with the federal government. We know that it's very a good thing when a business have 8A certification.
Mm-hmm.
They're bonded and all of that good stuff. And so I walk people through those processes. I don't do a whole lot of that work now because I do have a full-time job with Bread for the World, but I'm also able to liaison and connect people with
Awesome.
businesses and firms that do that work full time.
And this is huge, because, and I'm sure you will agree, that sector is still kind of narrow. It's not as many minorities and especially women owned um, businesses, minority businesses that are contracting with the government. I don't know what the percentage is, you may know, but I'm glad that you're able to provide that service because it's kind of still, do you agree?
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, it's one of those things where unless you're willing to play in that space, I mean, there's nothing. I don't want to. How do you say it? It's not like you can force your way in it,
Mm-hmm.
but if you get in line and you follow the rules, you
Mm-hmm.
can certainly play in that space. But a lot of us, for whatever reason, we feel like it's a game,
Mm-hmm.
and so we don't always want to go through all the hoops because we don't think that it's going to be as lucrative in the end, or it's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
this is just a waste of time. And they put all these barriers in place, but that's the government, unfortunately. There is a lot of red tape, but I have seen successes. I've seen other have successes in the process. And so I would tell folks to stay the course.
Oh, definitely. I think sometimes we want instant gratification, or not really wanting to go through the longevity waiting. Because I know from what I've heard from individuals that I know that have tried to contract with the government, it could take years. But, in the
It's
long run, it's
relation.
worth it if you are able to get a contract for
Yeah.
sure.
And that's the thing people have to understand. They think, oh, Chonya connected me with this agency. We looked at their forecast. We know what they need. We have what they need. They're gonna pick us, and it just doesn't work that way.
Mm-hmm.
It is relationship building with those key folks within those offices who let those contracts and who accept the bids and RFPs. And so it's important that people understand that it is a process.
Mm-hmm.
And some people win out of the gate and are able to get assistance really, really quick. But then there's some of us who has to put in the work.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be
Mm-hmm.
able to show them that we have an executive summary, a capability statement, and some of the other things to make sure they know that we have the capacity to do
Exactly.
the work.
Exactly. So speaking of that work, so I want to get into what I would consider, I don't know if you agree, the greatest, and I feel like will remain the greatest protest in modern history, the March on Washington of 63. And the platform was jobs and freedom. I'm not sure if moguls, you guys are aware of what the platform was, but there was a platform and it was for jobs for minorities as well as freedom. All right, this is civil rights. So my thoughts on, and we're going to kind of get into the nitty gritty. This is a political conversation cocktail. You know, every time we come, guys, we're having our conversation cocktail. Today it's just political, so we're going to have a little bit of bipartisanship. We're going to talk about the siege. I call siege on the Capitol. They call it a protest. And we're going to talk about the inauguration.
Directionist.
So it's going to be a good little mixture today. But comparing what happened here recently with Trump supporters, his group, in comparison to MLK and what he created in the 60s. How do you feel? Because you worked on the Capitol for some years. So what's the first feeling that comes to mind when you saw what was going on?
I would never compare the two because they were
Well,
two
yeah,
separate entities.
that's true.
Wouldn't even put them in the same sentence. It was very unfortunate. Um, my heart, even a week later, grieves for our nation.
Mm,
And so I was very disgusted. The
mm,
people didn't understand exactly what the United States Capitol represents. It is the people's house. It is
mm-hmm,
a place in which we are afforded the opportunity to go and to learn more about our country values, but also where we make policy changes. And so when you have an issue, that is what you have a representative for.
mm-hmm,
And so for me, I just remain disgusted. Like no one really remember fifth grade civic. And so,
mm,
but I also know that they were egged on to do such a thing by the
mm-hmm,
president of the United States saying, go down there, I'm going to meet you there, and all of
mm-hmm,
that. And so it's very frustrating, but it is very disgusting
mm-hmm.
that I had to witness it in this lifetime or any lifetime.
Yeah,
And so I think my heart still is like, did this just happen? And
yeah.
so
I think a lot of us are
thinking
still in
about
shock.
it's still a sad taste in my mouth. And so I want to be able to stay on the good side of Jesus and the saints. And so that's all I can say is that it's very disgusting.
Yes, and we know Martin Luther King, one of his, I guess, beliefs and what he preached a lot is that you can't fight hate with hate.
Right.
You have to fight hate with love. Now we are tempted. We have been tempted here lately, and we have to turn to Jesus. But I think that, and we'll get into this in the next section. I feel as though that is exactly what that sector is wanting is division. And honestly, quite
Yeah.
honestly, I feel like we are a nation that's still divided. I do feel like as we see certain Republicans, because I've worked in politics for some years and working campaigns, I have had the privilege of talking to people on both sides, and you have good and bad on both sides, honestly.
Right.
People that are not deep into politics, it's hard for them to separate the two. They feel if I'm a Democrat, all Democrats are good. if I'm a Republican, all Republicans are good and Democrats are bad. I've had so many conversations with people that are so one-sided, right? And so in the next segment, I want to talk about a little bit about bipartisanship and what the environment is like in DC, what the pulse is of the area. If you are aware, you might not be really talking to many people right
Yeah,
now.
no, I mean, because unfortunately, we've been, and because I'm on the outside, we have sort of been locked out of the Capitol one bit because of COVID.
Okay.
And now this insurgent or insurrection has made it even more difficult for lobbyists and any others to really go to Capitol Hill and meet with members to see what it's really like. I mean, everything that you guys are getting from the news is pretty much what we're getting. And so you have some that want accountability and unity. You want some, so I could not speak to that because only a member of Congress could do that because they have to deal with their colleagues on a day-to-day basis. I would say within my everyday work of working with my boss, who is a Republican, I would say that she is moderate and in the middle, and so she's never been like a pro Trump person, even though she was Republican. So
let's talk a little bit about that
speak.
when we come back. We're going to go to break, you guys, and we will be back. And we'll kind of talk a little bit about bipartisanship and kind of explain that to you guys for those moguls who are wondering what exactly does that word mean. So we'll be right back.
We work our whole lives to support our families. With one accident or illness, it can all be gone in an instant. Now there's a smart, affordable way to protect your family. Go to findhealthbenefits.com and discover low-cost life insurance for as little as $2 per month. Add to that a tax-deferred annuity that can help you protect your assets and grow your money for retirement. Learn more. Go to findhealthbenefits.com or call 877-235-6094. A critical illness can strike without warning and wipe out your life savings. In fact, it's the #1 reason for bankruptcy. Find Health Benefits offers an affordable solution. Get up to $50,000 if you get cancer, stroke, or a heart attack, giving you the peace of mind to focus on getting better while the plan helps you to pay your bills and medical expenses. Learn more. Go to findhealthbenefits.com or call 877-235-6094. 66% of seniors spend more time shopping for cable TV than Medicare plans. Most say because it's just too confusing. Laws change every year. The wrong plan could cost you thousands and prevent you from seeing the doctors you want. Introducing FindHealthBenefits.com. Save time, save money, see specialists without referrals. Go to FindHealthBenefits.com or call 877-235-6094 for this informative brochure.
Society is on the edge. Let's bring them back. Edge Radio, because truth still matters.
All right, moguls, so we are back and we're going to get into bipartisanship. Let's see. Okay, I can see you now. So let's explain to the moguls exactly what that means.
Okay, so basically partisanship, um, let me give you layman's terms. So basically we have a two-party system. We have the Democrats and the Republicans. Um, when you're only focused on one issue or one particular outcome based on one particular party, it becomes partisan. Bipartisanship is when you work together, both parties to get to the final resolution that you want. And so when you see two members introduce a bill together and they work along party lines, but they come together for the greater good, that is considered bipartisanship. And so the goal should always be to encourage bipartisanship among these two parties, the Democrats and the Republican. We know that our system, we have other parties. If you
The
looked at your
libertarians,
ballot doing,
that's one.
sorry?
Libertarians, that's one. The kind of, I guess.
Well, yeah, so I was just going through, you have the Green Party of Libertarian, you have a lot of different parties that exist that that are involved in the political process. However, they're not in power. So I don't want to say they're ignored. I'm just going to say that they don't have enough power to wield anything. So
policy,
you
yeah.
have two major parties, which is the Democrats and the Republicans. And so because you only have those two are the two that are in charge, unfortunately. And so when they work together, that's bipartisanship. When they don't work together, and it's just about one party ideology and what they want, it's partisanship.
So let me explain to you guys. So when I was managing a campaign for Fort Bend County, I was managing a county-wide campaign. So you have, say if I'm running for mayor, that's not a county-wide campaign. That's for whatever specific city I'm running for. So if I'm running for mayor of Missouri City, I'm concentrated in Missouri City. If you're running, so I was running a sheriff's campaign, so that's countywide. You have to talk with Republicans and Democrats. You can't, we're all together, and it's okay to have different beliefs. And I've never understood why people are so hateful about it, because you can be in the same family. You may have a sister that has different beliefs than you do, and you both may be Democrats, right? I don't understand why people can't break down the simple fundamentals of human nature and having different beliefs. But that doesn't mean you have to have hate or you have to dislike this one and have such strong passion of being against a specific party or a person just because beliefs. So us being able to break down the fundamentals when we ourselves, you may even have a friend. We may have different beliefs on how we raise our children, beliefs on religion. Maybe we're both Christians, but we navigate through Christianity differently, right? Various subjects, we're humans, we're going to have different beliefs. So just because I guess, and it's funny because I've had Democrats and Republicans that I've met throughout the process that I like, and some Democrats that I didn't, Republicans that I didn't. So it's hard for me to I guess it's easier for me to break it down when you're in it. You might feel the same way, Chonya, when you're in the political world for such a long period of time. It's easier for us to understand it than a layman's person. So I can't really blame them for it. But what's your experience? And you have a Republican boss, so you've seen that there's good and bad on both sides, right?
Yeah, it don't matter. It could be Democrats who are not doing everything
Exactly.
perfect, or I don't want to say perfect. But you have it either way it goes. So I don't think I even look at it like that. Humans are humans, and they really, yes, political parties play a role in their decision making, but I've been in the game long enough to know that I have relationships. And so those are the things that I focus on, not necessarily a person's political affiliation. Either you want to do the deal or you don't. And I because of the work I do, which is for everyday people who are not concerned about, Democrats or Republican, it's about ending hunger.
Exactly.
And so am I going to be worried about whether or not that person voted in the last election?
No,
when I'm trying to make sure that they get a 15% increase in
exactly.
SNAP benefits. No.
Exactly.
So for me, it doesn't come into play. Um, it does, but it doesn't. It's not like I'm talking to an everyday person about it.
Exactly. Now it's funny but not funny. These are the conversations I would have to have when I was going out and talking with constituents, especially when I was in those, oh Jesus, strongly Trump areas where sometimes I feared for my life. I really did. I didn't even want to walk in certain areas because it was so strong. I can't even describe it. But I would have to explain to them. Do you think when you call the sheriff's office because someone's breaking into your house, do you think they're going to ask you, I'm sorry, are you a Republican or Democrat? Who did you vote for in the last? Like, really, it's some people are so illogical. There's just no other way to say it. It's like some things are basic fundamentals. Everything does not go under a party line. That's why I really wish we could, and it's not going to happen while we're living, or maybe even our children. Um, I hate straight ticket. I
Yeah.
hate it. I hate straight ticket. That's why I'm glad after primary, they kind of do away with that. But I just wish we just didn't have it at all, so people could actually do research on each candidate and get into the nitty gritty. Because I had one lady I was communicating with, and she said, I would vote for your candidate, but she's a Democrat. And Democrats don't believe in working. And Democrats want to kill babies. And I said, well, she's working, isn't she? She's a lieutenant. That means she's working. Okay, that's number one. She has 4 kids, and she hasn't talked about abortions or that platform. So you don't know whether she believes in it or not. That's just logic. It's like trying to get them to see how illogical, and that goes on both sides. We have some Democrats that are, Republicans are devils. Republicans are, no, 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 no. People are people. We just have certain beliefs, and that's their right, right? It has to do with how you're raised or just your beliefs. Religion, I know that plays a strong part, and you may agree or disagree. And just fundamental upbringing and your experience. We all have different experiences, right, through life, and so that can conform and kind of, I guess, create what our thoughts are, our beliefs are. And so, what are your feelings with that? Do you feel like have you had conversations with individuals to where you've had to try to get them to see past party? It's not
Honestly, no, because there's some
interesting.
conversations I don't participate in. um, yeah, no, not in the last 5, 10 years.
Okay.
No, probably early on in my career,
Hmm.
I would get these calls and have to try and convince folks. In my latest jobs, I wasn't a person to answer the phone.
Hmm.
So when you work for a member of Congress office, you have a staff assistant,
Yeah.
someone who field those calls before they get to you. So I think I've been sort of shielded from them. And you can call any member of Congress office and you will see the person on the front line, which is that staff assistant, they get
Hmm.
those type of questions and that
Hmm.
banter. But me, where I'm at now, no. And nobody just walks up to me and said, hey. So no, I don't get those. Haven't gotten them in a minute.
Well, you're
And I'm
blessed.
thankful because I don't have probably the tolerance I had back then to go back and forth and argue. And so
And
yeah,
see,
no.
when I was speaking with them, I made it a point to try to tug at their hearts, and that's another thing I have to share. Okay, so we want to honor MLK and Martin Luther King, and we just love what he did. We honor him, the King, but then we'll get on social media or we'll have these conversations, and all we're spewing is hate. When what his I feel as though, now I may be wrong, he wanted equality, which equates unity. That's what he spoke a lot about, unity, us coming together, whites, blacks, yellow, green, brown. That's what he had in his speech that we love oh so much. We want to rant and rave, but then we also perpetuate division, right? I've noticed that a lot, just on watching even some of these news channels. Some of the people that I actually esteem, Republicans, or Democrats. You can't have it both ways, right? If we're gonna have unity, we're gonna have to start finding some kind of common ground. What are your thoughts on that? I feel like that's how we honor him by, you know, preaching
I mean,
unity.
the point you've made it so well that I don't think I could add anything to it other than that, the equality is about unity. And the only way that you can get there is by each of us taking personal responsibility
Mm-hmm.
to show up in that way.
Mm-hmm.
That's just it. And once we work on ourselves, we work on our children,
Mm-hmm.
and then we can share with our family members, but they're grown adults and they're going to do what they want to do. So your point that you made is already sufficient enough. The equality to unity. That's what
Mm-hmm.
it's about. But we each have to take personal responsibility. Some of us just won't do that.
We won't do it.
Some of us thrive off of chaos and confusion. And so
Yes.
even when we're operating in unity, they don't know that. And because
Mm-hmm.
they're so used to there being chaos in their lives, there being the fighting amongst two parties. So you've already said it well.
And as citizens, individuals, we shouting on Sunday. Okay. Sunday, Wednesday, and whatever day your Bible study is. You're shouting, salivating, snotting, all rolling all on the ground. But as soon as you get the chance, someone says something you don't like or you don't agree with, you spewing hate. And I just don't understand. I don't know if I ever will. It's like you can't honor a person that was all about love, but you spew hate and division and expect for there to be change. So I never understand when and I'm gonna say conversations I've had with, African American women or African American males, and I'm trying to get them to see, okay, we want change and we've had some change, we still have a long way to go, but we're not gonna get it with negativity, with negative energy. You have to keep pushing the love, you have to keep now, some people you're not going to be able to change their mind or get them to see a different perspective. But I feel as though you should always lead with love and lead with somewhat of understanding that maybe they just don't get it, right? Some will never get it. But I don't think we're going to ever come full circle. And some may say there's never going to be true equality. I don't know if there's any nation that has true 100% equality. I think there is, but we'll get better at understanding each other and having somewhat of a turn from where we are now. And we'll get to that the next segment. How do we feel about the nation now? The division, has it ever been so strong? Or is it just that now with social media and media, we're able to see it, it's right in our face? So let's get into that a little bit next. And then we'll talk about the inauguration and how important this one is for us as women, not just a minority, but as women in general, with Kamala Harris. So we will be right back, moguls.
The Natural Nation Network is really about taking control of your health physically, spiritually, emotionally, even intellectually, because there's so much out there in misinformation. There's a lot of people now that are suffering from all sorts of diseases that they really wouldn't have to suffer for if they had better information. And that's what we're here to do. Provide information that can save lives.
The mind and the body are totally connected.
Health can be really serious, and sometimes we just have to lighten it up a little bit while we're still providing substantive information.
And my sort of mantra on the salsa dance floor is kind of similar. I tell somebody, if you make a mistake twice, it becomes a move. Okay?
Tune into Natural Nation every Tuesday at 11 a.m.
All right, Mogul. So we're back and we're going to speak regarding the nation as of now. The division that's felt. It's interesting because I've had conversations with associates, friends, family members who have, and even a mentor, who have literally severed relationships, severed ties with people that they've been friends with for years. I never forget, my mentor was telling me he was in Florida on a golf course with several key people that we would know. And one of those individuals out the blue made a comment about, well, I just don't understand that BLM. And he was like, he was the only African American that was, I think it was a group of 4 of them. He was the only African American. And he was like, I think they felt they could say that because they look at us different sometimes depending upon our financial class, right? Our social class. And he said, but I got real Chicago on him. Because he's from the projects. He's just been able to do very well for himself, throughout his career. But he had to, sever relationships. And these people that he was like, I could have possibly done business with this person, but I was like, no, forget that. I'm at the point where I don't care anymore. I'm fine. So if I don't, I'd rather not even do business with you if that's how you feel. Now, he did try to explain, but he was saying that the tension was so high that he just had to let it go. So have you heard of individuals that have had to sever relationships because of what's going on right now?
Honestly, no, not directly. I have, social media gives you an inside look at all kinds of stuff. Mm-hmm. So I think for me, I have seen stories on social media where folks have, they'll post like, this is for you. I don't even want to go there. Yeah. But that's the only place anybody directly in my network saying, oh, I had to cut my neighbor off because I realized that they were white supremacists and not really.
See, I had quite a few. It's been interesting.
Yeah, so I don't know. And my friends who I know that voted for Trump, I actually didn't really consider them to be racist or white supremacists necessarily down in Texas. Because pretty much my white friends here in the Maryland East Coast, they're liberals, so they're Democrats.
Exactly.
But the ones in Houston, they are diehard, Republicans. Yeah. And so I still didn't write them off because I understood that the reason they were making a decision was because of misinformation that was going to impact their jobs, the oil and gas industry. And so I was like,
so it's a financial decision.
Yeah. Financial.
See, these people have had just like the example I gave you of that mentor. I'm not gonna say his name, but they actually were having conversations about more in-depth conversation. So I don't know of anyone that severed ties just because they voted for Trump. These were after they conversed, had communique, and it kind of got a little heated. Because character was called in. Yeah.
I'm saying they never came to me and said, hey, Chonya, can you explain Black Lives Matter to me?
Yeah, or, so you haven't had,
or what's going on, racial equity and how I can apply it. And no, they didn't do any of that.
Me
And
personally,
so
I haven't had any one person that I've had to sever ties with as of yet. And I don't know if that's going to change. So what's your thoughts? Now, I honestly feel, and this is from information from a family member of mine who's dealt with terrorism for some time. I feel like national terrorism is probably going to increase even after the inauguration. So I'm just telling my loved ones and friends, just be mindful of your surroundings. Don't drive in small towns at nighttime. I don't care if you have your man with you as a woman. I'm not driving. I'm not going. If we can't go during the day, I'm not going. But just being more aware of surroundings.
yeah.
Do you have that sense, or you're going to be more aware of your surroundings, how you move
Well, I
around?
think I would be more aware of my surrounding, but again, I don't know if I have a false sense of hope or safety in
Hmm.
that I'm on the East Coast,
You're in a
pretty
different, yeah.
liberal here. Huh?
You have a different terrain you're dealing with. But your
Yeah, so
family and
maybe if I
friends in the
was down
South,
in Texas and
yeah, in
Louisiana where,
Louisiana, that's what I'm talking
we as
about.
black people, um, you can go ahead, where we as black people would see such a thing, then I think like Louisiana, Texas, some of those little small towns where we know, and even here in Virginia, some people would say don't go to certain parts of Virginia because it's not friendly to black people. I'm not going there anyway, so it
Exactly.
don't matter to me. COVID is going on, so we are, in isolation and
That helps.
quarantine, all of this other stuff. So it's not much to do, and so I don't think I'll be venturing somewhere where I'm not wanted either.
For me, I had to put in my mind I probably won't be visiting with certain family anytime soon, because I do have to ride through. I never forget I had gone to Louisiana, and right after I think it was Anahuac, outside of Baytown, they had a huge Trump parade. Now, mind you, the election had just happened the day before, and he lost. But I mean, a huge Trump parade, and they were just screaming, looking in vehicles, I guess, to see, screaming, and just, I mean, it was crazy. And then you have cities like Vidor. Those of you guys who are familiar with Southeast Texas already know what the deal is. When I was younger, and I guess even up until the early 2000s, but definitely in the 80s, when you were traveling from Beaumont to Orange, you did not stop in Vidor. I don't care if you had to use the restroom. You better hold it, okay, until you got either to Orange or to Beaumont. So, and it's gotten better, I know, but we still have to be mindful in certain areas. And I think it is a difference in, like when I lived in California, the environment was definitely different there, I feel like, than here. I'm trying to think of where else. That's the only place I've ever resided. Oh, besides New Orleans, I lived in New Orleans, and driving through Louisiana, I think same feeling. So, and you're from Louisiana, so you already are aware.
Yeah.
So you have the false hope that we are going to start, and I do. I feel like we are eventually going to start having more unity, but I feel like the immediate aftermath from the inauguration, I just feel like we all need to be mindful and sensitive to the strong feelings of certain individuals. So what's your
Yeah.
thought on what is unity, or us starting to get back to unity, look like to you?
That I honestly, well, my take on unity has always been it's personal responsibility. It's you, I, and everyone taking personal responsibility for themselves.
It's hard to hear you.
Seeing,
Okay, nothing.
seeing,
Okay.
can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Seeing exactly what it is you want, the community that you want, and
Mm-hmm.
working toward those ideal goals.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to move us all forward together. And it can't just be about one race. It
Mm-hmm.
needs to be more collective,
Mm-hmm.
and that it's for the betterment of our communities as a greater whole.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I see unity is because
That's
when
good.
when a community that have been disenfranchised continues to feel that way, when that is lessened, then
Mm,
you'll see more unity. They won't be
yes.
just hating, let's say, white folks. Not saying they hate them for nothing, but they feel like they've been oppressed.
Yes.
When communities no longer feel like they're oppressed in some way, that they can truly live and they can truly have access to,
Mm-hmm.
a decent quality of life, quality schools, and all of
Mm-hmm.
those things, I think that's when you will see a greater good of people being more unified. But because so many people are disenfranchised, you have where people are feeling like, oh, the system
Yeah.
don't care about me. Oh, it's only for this group of people over here because they look this certain way. So
And I
I
think
think
COVID
to me,
exasperated it. What do you feel? Do you think COVID has exasperated it?
in a sense, yes.
Mm-hmm.
In a sense, yes, you could say yes. Because you see with COVID, the number of, minorities or particularly Black people, indigenous, um, being impacted at larger numbers,
Yeah.
and we're not giving the same access to healthcare, then
Mm-hmm.
yes, that will be one of those areas where you're just like, come on, can we level the playing field in the medical, healthcare system?
Yes. I
Yeah.
noticed so many now. This could just be, it might be different in various areas, various regions throughout the nation. But in Houston, I noticed so many storefronts are just gone. With COVID, I mean, so many businesses, restaurants. And I did notice because I was looking for a specific uh, piece of clothing. And I said, oh, okay, this person went to online. Okay, this person went to online. Okay. But you notice so many businesses have gone out of business. So I think in my mind, I wanted for people to see also we're in a different boat, but in the same boat when it comes to financial class and social class. Do you get what I'm saying? There were all different colors of folks that lost their homes. There were all different colors of folks that lost their businesses. Blacks, whites, Hispanics, Asians, we all were affected due to COVID. And so let's get into the inauguration and what this means to us as not just as women, as African American, as South Asian women, but as a nation as a whole. I think we have to touch on that too, because we say as women, but it's as a nation as a whole. Let's get into that next. So we're going to talk about the inauguration, you guys, when we come back. All right. All right, Mogul. So let's get into it. The inauguration in a couple of days. I must say, I couldn't see myself seeing, or maybe I could. Not this soon, I'll say. I thought maybe like in a few more elections, we may see an African American, and she's African American and South Asian, woman, or even a woman after Hillary didn't win her election. I was like, okay, we're gonna see a bunch of men, presidents and vice presidents for a few more elections, and then another woman to come along. So, did you foresee this? Or are you not surprised? Hold on, say it again.
Oops, I'm sorry. I'm not surprised. Did I see it? No.
Okay.
I'm not that good, but I'm not surprised. I'm just like,
Okay.
we earned the right. We've done the work.
Yes.
Like to me, it was a matter of time.
Hmm.
Um, did I see Kamala? No, not really. But I think, for me, the thing is we've we've arrived to a
Hmm.
place where we now can see someone else coming behind her.
Hmm.
So yeah,
So for my daughter, because of course we're gonna watch it together. If she's at school, I'm gonna DVR it. But just the discussion to have with her, and you know, seeing that anything is possible. We had the same conversations when President Obama won his election. We were able to see someone that looked like us be president of the
right.
United States. So I think that's the amazing part. And I think just women as general, not just African American women, South Asian women, but women in general having the conversation with their daughters that, hey, we can, we can make it to the vice presidency and the presidency, because that may be
Yeah,
what's coming next. I won't be surprised if she does not run for president after this term, because I don't see Biden running for a second term. And maybe I'm wrong. I'm just giving my prediction. I feel
yeah.
as though,
But no, that's what other folks say too,
okay.
is that they don't see him running for a second term. So she could run if she wanted to, or someone else could run. So I don't know. I haven't even looked that far down the line yet, but I do know that she'll be a great vice president, and if she wants to run for
Hmm.
president, hey, she's been the VP, so why not?
Now, you probably share the same sentiment that the win in Georgia definitely makes it a better situation for she and Biden, right?
Oh yeah,
Express
yeah,
your
that
feelings on
was
that so people understand.
what you say.
And with her being that deciding vote dealing with the Senate,
Yeah,
uh, the big huge Georgia win, don't you feel like
yes.
that was I mean, it would have been totally different setup for them going
I
into
know
office.
they wouldn't be. I mean, he just would have been an executive order president.
Hmm.
Some things would have been able to pass the House and the Senate, but we know that the Republican Party, unfortunately, had been very much, what do they call them?
Resistant.
Restructionists.
Okay.
Like they were not letting anything through, so they just would block everything. And they still likely will try and do that, but there's still a lot of work that they're able to get done.
Hmm. So it's a totally different day, and the three branches. Can you share with? I'm trying to see. Have you dealt with out? No, not the Supreme Court. Well,
No,
you're
the
right
judicial.
there.
So there's three, there's three branches. You have your executive, which is the White House. You have your judiciary, which is your Supreme Court. And then the third is your legislative branch, which is your U.S.
Have you had to
Congress.
deal with the
Uh,
judiciary? You haven't really. Have you had any cases that
no,
you had? No.
no, I will say very early on in my career, I did probably my first and only protest regarding
Okay.
affirmative action
Okay.
at the Supreme Court.
Okay.
That's probably to that extent.
Only
That,
experience.
but
Okay.
but yeah, that's about it. I haven't had to follow any legal. I mean, there have been some legal issues that have come about that I probably should have been following, but I mean, it was in the Supreme Court. I figured the people who enjoy the legal ease and that part of it, which is the committee staff, they work closely on
Hmm.
it, but I haven't had to, you know,
Personally.
recite a federal court or the judiciary opinion on anything that I've worked on.
So the
So
executive and the legislative. Can you share with the moguls how those intertwine. Because I think a lot of times they feel like we voted for this president, he didn't get this done and he didn't get that done, and I'm like, because
well, I mean, honestly, it will take a little bit of time, and I don't know if we got that much time. But the thing is to understand is that the executive branch, which is the branch of the president, he does have the federal agencies that he directs to act based on the federal legislation of the legislative branch. So the legislative body passed legislation. The federal agencies that's under the executive branch then implement those. So it's important that those two work together. Now, if there's any discrepancies and all of this kind of stuff, then that's when it goes to the judiciary to look at what was the will of the people or the legislators at the time. It doesn't go back to Congress for review. It goes to the judiciary when people go
Supreme Court, guys,
file appeals and stuff like that. I'm sorry?
I was just explaining to the moguls, which is the Supreme Court, when you said judiciary.
Oh, okay, yes.
Thanks for explaining that, because I feel like a lot of times, which is why we're so excited that the Georgia happened, which is why it was so pertinent, because now we feel as though, and it is true, there's facts that Kamala and Vice President Harris and President Biden, I want to be respectful, will be able to accomplish much more than maybe Obama did. Now, when he first got in, but I think it was about his second year, it flipped to Republican.
Obstructionist, that's what it was called.
Yeah.
They were just obstructing everything. Like, nope.
And so we had such a strong passion that he didn't get things done, but you have to understand the way those two branches intertwine and how they work together. So what are your plans? And share with the people first your various platforms, how they can find you.
On social media, or ChonyaJohnson.com is my website, and then Chonya J on social media, whether it be Instagram or Facebook. I'm on Twitter, but not a whole lot.
Your books, your publishings again, if they want to purchase.
Hey, go to my website, ChonyaJohnson.com, and on the books, you see I have several different books. My number one bestseller is America's 5-Minute Advocate, Get In, Get Out, Get Results. And then there's some others that are there, but I won't use this time for that. Okay. I just appreciate having the opportunity to be here today.
All right, thank you. So we're going to end with this. How do you plan on enjoying the inauguration? Are you guys going to be at home? I'm sure you have friends coming over, just you and your daughter, or
just myself and my daughter.
Okay.
So we will watch it from the comfort of our either bed or couch. Get some popcorn and champagne.
Yes.
Enjoy the festivities with everybody else safely and social distance.
Same here. Gonna have some treats, some cider, some sparkling cider, because my daughter is 11, and we're gonna just watch it and just soak it in. This is a part of history. We are really living in a part of history. This is major. So, guys, make sure you guys watch the inauguration. And next Monday, I'm gonna actually ask you guys how you felt, and still how you feel about us as a nation. Your thoughts on unity. And whatever other subject I have coming up for next Monday. So until then, be safe and give to others, guys. Let's spread some love, moguls. All right, until next time.